also the departed Vaishnavas. My glasses. I can't see. I can't sit. I can't. So I got to get my glasses. So I can't see. I can't sit. I can't. Jaya Nilo Premadana Koruna Prachur Jaya Nilo Premadana Koruna Prachur Premadana Koruna Prachur Heno Prabhu Kotagela Acharya Thakur Prabhu Kotagela Acharya Thakur Kahamora Swarupupa Kaha Sanatan Kahamora Swarupupa Kaha Sanatan Kahadasa Raghunatha Patita Pavan Raghunatha Kahamora Bhatta Yuga Kaha Kavira Bhatta Yuga Kaha Kavira Eka Kale Kota Gela Goranata Raj Pasane Kutibo Mata Anale Pasibo Kutibo Mata Anale Pasibo Goranga Gulera Nidi Kota Gile Pabo Se Samba Sangira Sange Je Koilo Bila Sange Je Koilo Bila Se Sangana Paya Kande Narotamada Jaya Nilo Premadana Koruna Prachur Jaya Nilo Premadana Koruna Prachur Heno Prabhu Kota Gela Charya Thakur Prabhu Kota Gela Charya Thakur. He who brought the treasure of divine love and who was filled with compassion and mercy Where is such a personality as Srinivas Acharya gone? Where is my Swarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatan? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where is my Raghunath Bhatta, Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishnadas Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against the rock and enter into the fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all these devotees in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottam Das simply weeps. So Om Viganda Chimarandasya. So today is the disappearance day of Shamananda. And so I read a couple of books. There's a few books about the Vaishnava saints. And this is a pretty nice one here. It's Satyaraj Das is a very good writer. He did a lot of research. Bhakti Ratnakara is another literature. Bhakti Ratnakara is a book that Prabhupada would quote from often in Srimad Bhagavatam Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's kind of like it's what happened after Lord Chaitanya left. So it's like those devotees, primarily the three main devotees, but also we talk about the six Goswamis are the principal. There's principal six. But actually there's hundreds of Goswamis in Vrindavan, and so they list quite a bit, not hundreds of them, but they list a lot of those. And Janavi Dasi, that she's mentioned a lot in there. So a lot of the activities that happened right after Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. And so that's where we get a great deal of these stories about Narottam and Srinivas Acharya, which are the main principles in that book. And then there's some about Shamananda Pandit. So I will use his books. And there's different, and he notes out here that there's actually different versions of the story, and sometimes they're just, Satyaraj Das, but he where that is, he makes note of that here. And I'll kind of hope I can remember to bring those things out. But so Shamananda Pandit, so his parents was Krishnadas Mandal, and his mother was Durika Dasi. So they were considered somebody it's like Sudras. And they're from the Orissa area. They're Bengalis. And so they had many, like at that time, they had, many offspring, and a lot of them didn't survive. Most of them didn't survive. So he was the first one that actually survived. So they named him Dukhi because they lost so many kids. And so Dukhi means the sorrowful. So they was like, kind of using some psychology here. Maybe the demigods would kind of like, how sorrowful we are that, maybe leave this baby alone. Let us have this one. So he was given that name. So we have just mentioned these three saints, and that Srinivas Acharya was actually born about 10 years before Lord Chaitanya left. Narottam Das Thakur was born about a year before Lord Chaitanya left. And Shamananda Pandit was about a year after Lord Chaitanya left. So that's the kind of no, actually, Narottam was just before Mahaprabhu left. It doesn't say a year. So, and then Shamananda was the youngest, was after. So those are the age difference in those different ones. So his son Dukhi they recognized he's a very intelligent individual. Sometimes when obviously you think your kids are the sweetest and the most because bodily conception and attachment, but he actually, you could see by also by what other people were saying, that this is not an ordinary child. This is extraordinary. And because he liked to learn, he liked to read, he liked to study, and these were the things that he was attracted to. And so, his parents encouraged him that, and so he was able to go to school and learn. So his father told him that you should pick whatever guru you wanted. You should pick your own guru. And so he took that to heart, and he decided that he wanted Hridaya Chaitanya as his guru. But he didn't live in that area. He had heard about him, but he had some attachment to him. And so because he was still relatively young, he wanted to travel to be where his guru was. But his father said, no, that's too far, to go. You're by yourself. And he was able to convince his father that, there's plenty of people who travel to this location. I can just travel with them. Everything's going to be safe. So he was able to convince his dad that he could be able to do this, And so his father, allowed him to travel with some people. And so he spent some time with his spiritual master, and then he got initiated, and his name was Krishnadas. And so his name, they used to call him, I think it was Dukhi Krishnadas, I think. Right? And so, and then at one point, he wanted to travel and go on pilgrimage, just like Narottam Das Thakur did, and just like Srinivasacharya. They would go and they visit every place that Lord Chaitanya visited. Could be pretty extensive because he also went to South India, and therefore he did that. He wanted a great tour of India to all the major holy places, including Lord Chaitanya's pastime. Actually, right before this, when he went to see a spiritual master, there's the story about Hridaya. He used to be called Hridayananda, and that was his name. And then there was this pastime, and where there was a big kirtan at the temple of Hridaya Chaitanya, and he was the pujari, and he was doing the pujari work. No, I'm sorry, his guru was doing the pujari work. His guru's name was Gauradas Pandit, and he was doing the pujari, given the Tulsi, and there's the deities of Gaurnatai. Now these were supposedly carved right, Lord Chaitanya was on the planet, so they kind of very close replica of Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya. So there's a big kirtan, and and I don't know if there was another set of deities that were dancing, or was actually Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda dancing. But then these deities jumped off the altar, and Gauradas started chasing these deities, And so one set, and there's another where he says there's a little bit difference in the story. There's different versions because he notes the book in his footnotes what books he gets these from. Either both of them entered into the heart of Hridaya Chaitanya, or one of them, whichever version you wanted. And then the other version other set went back up on the altar. So you can go see this temple and you can go visit this temple, but when they do darshan, they do a quick and they close the curtains. Because this idea is that we don't want Gaurnatai to jump off the altar again, and then we got to chase him down and try to get him back on the altar. They don't want to lose him. So it's just a pastime. It's part of the pastime. You go to that particular temple, and they kind of, help you with that pastime. So then he went on pilgrimage to all the holy places. And so when he come back, his spiritual master, Hridaya Chaitanya, said that you should go to Vrindavan. And you go to Vrindavan, you should study under Jiva Goswami. Jiva Goswami is, very popular, had a great reputation of a scholar, and obviously Hridaya Chaitanya had a great reputation too because of this pastime. Everybody knew that, that Gaurnatai jumped into his heart. This is not ordinary. And his Gauradas was actually Subal. That's who his Leela, that's his spiritual master, was actually Subal. So he goes to Vrindavan, and he surrenders to Jiva Goswami, and he gets advanced knowledge and education and devotional practice. And so one of his things he would do, he would clean what's called the Kalpakunj Kutir, which is where the Radha and Krishna have their Rasa Leela, the location. So one of his, he would serve Jiva Goswami and do things for him, but he'd also, on his own initiative, he would go and sweep this area on a regular basis. And so it's not like a temple. This is actually a kund. It's a wooded area. Even 500 years ago, it's these. I was looking at a picture of a book just recently of a book I took off the book. It was Tamal Krishna Goswami's Prabhupada's Final Pastimes, and he did it in like a play or a storybook. The way he did this book, Prabhupada's, and you look on the back cover of this book, and you see the parikram in Vrindavan. And of course, my first time was in like '82, and of course, obviously it was a lot different than now, and obviously it looked a lot different in the '70s. But I think it's from the Bhagavatam Mohan Temple, because it's from they didn't have these little mini airplanes they fly around, these whatever, because it was a very elevated shot, and looking down at the parikram and you see on the right side it's all woods. On the right side, on the left side it's Vrindavan, and the path is dirt. You see very small one person on a bicycle. You could tell they're on a bicycle. It just stopped. But you can see how it's changed, the population and growth and stuff. So this particular area, I'm not really familiar where it's at. I've probably been there, but I just don't remember. But you see these kunjas, they're just growths of trees. They're devotees, these trees, and they grow in a particular way where the gopis can fix them up inside and as rooms. And of course the trees grow, the flowers, everything are produced by the bhakti of the particular plant. So then I'm going to start reading from that point, because I can tell it, but I don't miss anything. There's actually a lot of information. So here we are. He's cleaning the kunj. And so right before he's doing it this time, he goes there regularly. So it says that one day as Radha, Krishna, and the gopis were enjoying this Rasa Leela, they were overcome especially with intense ecstasy. The rhythms of the music and dance mixed with the enthusiasm of the moment, creating indescribably volatile emotions. This compelled everyone to participate with an even greater urgency, dancing forcefully with each moment. As the gopis moved their bodies to the beat of Krishna's heart, encircling him and Sri Radha, they played various musical instruments in spirited fashion. While doing this, the gopis jumped in and out of Radha and Krishna's vigorous dance. Soon, the energetic shuffle became unwieldy, uncontrollable, and Radhika lost her ankle bracelet. No one noticed the missing bracelet. In fact, Radhika had deliberately lost it just to offer special mercy to Krishnadas, who arrived the next morning to perform his unusual sweeping service and found the golden bracelet beneath a tree. Krishnadas was enthralled by the bracelet's beauty. He could understand that it was an ornament of another dimension of Radha's world. Sometimes I hear this also about this. We're on this particular dimension, and these pastimes, they're always going on at some universe. And actually, when they're in Vrindavan, part of the problem, we just can't see them, these activities. And apparently on these dimensions, different dimensions, these activities are available for one who's perfect in their sadhana, that purified their existence. The whole kunj was glowing from the light that emanated from that ankle bracelet. And so Krishnadas touched it to his head out of respect. At that moment, his body exhibited all varieties of ecstatic symptoms, such as palpitation and profuse sweating. He began to cry and experience a sort of overflowing happiness. Deluged with divine love, he clasped the ankle bracelet to his heart, and he fainted. This fainting thing is really pretty good. Next time I read Brihad Bhagavatam, I'm going to count how many times Gopakumar fainted. And it's almost every experience is, as he grows, he keeps fainting. It's really. Okay, so here's Lalita Devi. This is one of the variants. Sometimes some people say it's Vishaka, but I think a couple of books I referenced and when doing this, it was Lalita Devi. After a considerable period of time, Dukhi Krishnadas came to his senses and began calling the names of Radha and Krishna, like the love-mad gopis. He ran here and there, filled with distress, looking for their lordships. In desperation, he frantically shouted again and again, "Where is Radha? Where is Krishna? Please, I must find them." Around his neck, he tied the ankle bell around his neck and continued cleaning the kunj. Considering that someone might steal it from him, he eventually buried the bracelet in a secret place. Meanwhile, after entering her room, Radha noticed the missing ankle bell. Knowing that she might have dropped it in the kunj, she ordered Lalita, her dear friend, go there and search for it. Lalita, disguising herself as an elderly woman, hurried to the kunj in compliance with Radha's request. When she arrived, she immediately saw Krishnadas and asked his name. "I am Dukhi Krishnadas," he said. "Have you seen my daughter-in-law's ankle bell?" she asked. "She is careless, and sometimes when I send her to the Yamuna to fetch water for me, she loses things. I cannot trust her. Tell me, please, did you find the ankle bracelet? I will give you a reward if you return it to me." "Tell me frankly," Dukhi Krishnadas asked with great suspicion, "where do you live and what is your name?" "I am Radhadasi," Lalita replied, concealing her true identity. "I belong to the Kanjo Brahmin family of Vraja." Hearing this, Krishnadas confessed, "Yes, I did find the ankle bell, but it cannot be yours. It belongs to Sri Radha. I know this because the moment I touched the ankle bell, I felt as if I was fallen into the deep ocean of love of God. My heart swelled with unfaltering devotion, and I felt unconscious. Nor ordinary ankle bracelet could introduce such feelings." We see this, a lot of pastimes, we see the similar things. When Dhruva Maharaj couldn't speak to Vishnu, he was like, offering prayers. It's like nothing could come out. So he touched him with his conch shell, and this caused him to, And similarly, Gopakumar, dealing with the Brahmin, off to the end of this whole story, and he got to this mature Brahmin to a certain point, but he just needed this little bit more. Gopakumar reached out and just touched him. And by touching him, infused him. And there's other pastimes like that also. Sorry about that. This is the... Okay, so listen to me, Krishnadas continued. I will give it to you if it is truly yours. But first, you must prove it. We will go to your village and show the bracelet to your neighbors. If they identify it as belonging to you, I will happily relinquish it without any further questions. When Lalita heard this proposal, she became nervous and revealed the actual situation. You are right, she admitted. I am trying to deceive you. The ankle bell indeed belongs to Srimati Radharani. She is pleased with you, as am I. Ask for any boon, and it is yours. Then I will return the bracelet to Radhika, who will be grateful that you have recovered it. So, Krishnadas did not want anything for himself. O Thakurani, he said, I must know your real identity. Only after you reveal your true self to me will I ask for this boon. Taking Krishnadas to a secluded place, she revealed her true identity as Lalita Sundari by telling him her name and her service to Radhika. She did not, however, take off her disguise as an elderly lady. Instead, she cautioned him, listen, Dukhi Krishnadas, you are anxious to see my real spiritual form, but such revelation will be too much for you to bear. So I keep things coming in mind, but when here again, Gopakumar, when he was preaching, his spiritual master, who was the Supreme Personality, gave him some benedictions. And one of those benedictions, they would always have the right mentality to enjoy the fruit of the mantra. And sometimes if you just give somebody $5 or $10 million, they don't have the capacity to really handle something. When you give some opulence immediately, if you gradually develop it, it's one thing. So it was pretty important because he was able to travel through the universe, and just by chanting his mantra, he could move from one location to the next. But it was important for him to be able to deal with it mentally and emotionally. So that was a boon that the spiritual master had given him. And so she's saying, there's no way you're going to be able to handle it, which is we can see true. Just the bracelet alone just sent him, the touch of the bracelet. He countered her. By your grace, anything is possible. If you give me the ability to bear it, then I will be able to bear it. Submitting this intense desire, Lalita was ready to abandon her disguise, but she told him to first close his eyes. After several moments, she allowed him to look upon her holy form, gazing at the incomparable beauty of Lalita Sundari. He fell unconscious and began to foam at the mouth. As he came to his senses, she soothed him with kind words as he bowed to her feet with tears of love. She put one foot on his head, and he relished the dust that fell from her toes. Finally, under the control of his spiritual energy, Krishnadas was unable to speak. He could only weep. At this point, Lalita again offered to grant him any boon he desired. What else can I ask for? Krishnadas queried. My only desire is to serve Radha and Krishna under your guidance. Lalita smiled, knowing well the single-minded determination of young Krishnadas. You have certainly attained the association of Radha Krishna, she said, but you cannot serve them in this body. You must prepare yourself mentally as a confidant of Sri Radha. Then you can come to the Kunj with Rupa Manjari and personally witness the Rasalila of Radha and Krishna. At that time, you shall discover everyone's real identity. This is self-realization. For now, continue serving Jiva Goswami. In this body, continue doing your service for the Kunj. You will attain your perfect body, Siddhadeya, in due course. It's a good lesson for all of us. We need to just be patient. It's going to happen. You can't jump and make it happen. With this advice, she gave him a secret mantra, which she herself chants for constant vision of Radhika's form. There's a book that has all these mantras that all these different gopis chant. There's books on everything, I actually got that book too. Krishnadas then took her to an area in the Kunj where he had buried the ankle bracelet. The iron spade, which he had buried it with, turned to bright gold, and he used it to unearth it. After digging it up with the spade, he put the bracelet to his head. Then he prostrated himself before Lalita's magnificent form and relinquished the bracelet, gently placing it in her hand. Upon receiving the precious ornament of Lalita, he was surprised to see that she first touched it to his head. Moving it around in a mystical fashion, she said, "Let the touch of Radha's feet be impressed upon your head." Suddenly, 2 vertical lines appeared on his forehead, and from the touch of the tip of the anklet, a dot appeared in the middle. So he got another note here. It says, okay, so from this moment, Lita said, you shall be known as Shamananda, for you have brought bliss, Ananda, to Radha. So, notice the Sham is the name of Krishna, and Shama is the name of Radha. So the difference of the A, add the A to it. Now, go back to your Kunj and former state, but do not tell anyone about this incident. You may disclose these events only to Jiva Goswami, but do not tell anyone else. Overwhelmed with love, Shamananda bowed again, and when he arose, Lalita had disappeared into the Kunj. He began searching the Kunj. Where is the beautiful Lalita, Radharani's servant? Where is she gone? But to no avail. Soon he came upon Jiva Goswami and fell at his feet. When Jiva saw the bliss of Shamananda's eyes, he knew molten gold, and his new molten gold complexion obtained through his intimate association with the golden-hued Lalita. He asked the natural questions. Where have you been? Why is your skin glowing in that distinct way? Shamananda replied, My lord, I have been in the Kanaka Kunj, While at that place I received the zenith of Sri Guru's mercy. Only by such grace can one experience the transcendental fortune that I have known. Jiva then saw the beautiful gold spade wrapped tightly in a cloth beneath Shamananda's arm. He began to suspect that something extraordinarily had indeed taken place. Shri Jiva said, "And what is the strange tilak mark on your forehead? You cannot fool me, my dear Krishna Das. I know that you have attained Krishna's mercy, or perhaps even the mercy of Sri Radha." And here's another note. He said that according to some later accounts, it was Radha who had given Shamananda the name of tilak. So there are different variations, and he just not to move that. So your body is exhibiting ecstatic symptoms, and your eyes are gushing tears of love. Please tell me the details of your transcendental experience. Since Sri Lalita Devi had given permission, Shamananda proceeded to tell Jiva Goswami the entire story, but asked him not to divulge this secret to anyone. Shamananda requested that Jiva simply tell them that by the grace of Guru, everything has taken place. Since this was Lalita's desire, Sri Jiva complied, and the people of Vrindavan came to know Krishnadas's new name, Shamananda, and they called the new tilak Shamanandi, or Kripa Bindu. But only Jiva and Shamananda knew the secret behind the name. These secrets always tend to get out. I mean, Lord Chaitanya, he tells, don't reveal this to somebody. He revealed it to Krishna Das, or he reveals it to, even the person who he defeated, the Digvijaya. He revealed, but don't tell anybody or it'll be a catastrophe, But somehow we come to know about all of these stories, which is ultimately the mercy, So, Hridoy Chaitanya's fury. All of Vrindavan observed Shamananda's transformed demeanor, and there was much talk about his new name, his tilak, and his golden complexion. Everyone knew that he received the mercy of Jiva Goswami, but had he been unfaithful to Hridoy Chaitanya, his initiating guru? After all, it was quite unorthodox to receive a new name from one's instructing guru. This is a pretty big deal. Relationships are very very important. And in respecting your spiritual master, it's like, there's just nothing even more important for a disciple, to disrespect their spiritual master. It's just, and this is kind of like some of the purport we're trying to get out of this, and we see that he did not in no way, His relationship with Sri Jiva seemed to have eclipsed his relationship with Hridoy Chaitanya. And remember, he got the blessings to go see Jiva Goswami. So this adds to the intrigue and the drama of the whole story. And because of this, certain Vaishnavas were developing a terrible attitude toward Sri Jiva. Nonetheless, Jiva was steady in his resolve to keep Shamananda's secret, even at the risk of his own reputation. Rumors quickly circulated. Before long, in Bengal, Hridoy Chaitanya heard that in Vraja, Jiva Goswami was obscuring his relationship with his dear disciple, Dukhi Krishnadas, and had even given him a new name. Hridoy Chaitanya became furious. Jiva Goswami is accepting my disciple as his own. In good faith, I sent my disciple for training. Now, because of Sri Jiva, my Dukhi Krishnadas is abandoning his guru. Hridoy Chaitanya called for 5 of his best disciples. Go to Vrindavan and ascertain if these stories are true. If they are, then bring Krishnadas to me. I will give him the punishment he deserves. That was heavy duty. Okay, so now, go to Vrindavan. Hridoy Chaitanya said to his 5 disciples, and bring me Sri Jiva Goswami's reply. And the conclusion is, as if if the conclusion is as I suspect, then I will gather all the great Vaishnavas of Bengal, and we will go to Vrindavan for the judgment of Sri Jiva and his questionable activities. And it's reminding me, of course, Subal is involved in the story, it's Guru Das, but when Krishna was with Vraja, some gopi and some kun, and then Radharani heard about it, she picked up a stick and was headed right for it, And it's in the story, like there's 1 billion gopis with her, to go chastise Krishna, so they're not doing it just singly. Of course, that's when Subal got cursed because he was trying to keep her from going in, and he becomes Sakakuta? Is that the Shankachuta, the demon Sakachuta? Okay. So there's that. So you don't want to make her mad. So Jiva Goswami's response. After a long journey, the Vaishnavas of the Bengali finally arrived in Vrindavan and went directly to Jiva Goswami, who received them hospitably. Jiva then read the letter from Hridoy Chaitanya. Anxiously waiting for his response, the 5 disciples of Hridoy Chaitanya felt relieved when Sri Jiva finally said, although Hridoy Chaitanya has written this accusing letter, I assure you that I have not taken Krishnadas as my disciple. I would never do such a thing. In fact, Jiva continued, with great humility, I'm not even worthy to be his disciple. He knows the inside story. I am sorry that Hridoy Chaitanya is so angry with me, but I have done him no wrong. His own guru, Guru Das Pandit, always treated me with great affection. It is unfortunate indeed that such a rift has become between us. I do not know why this unpleasantness has developed. I had agreed to train his disciple, Dukhi Krishna Das, expressly because he was a disciple of the exalted Hridoy Chaitanya, and now I am accused of some impropriety. Hridoy Chaitanya's men felt terrible. One of them said to Jiva, 2 sannyasis came from Braja and told our revered Hridoy Chaitanya that you had renamed Krishnadas as Shamananda and that you had been given him a special tilak marking. Jiva laughed. If this is true, he said, we will hear it from the assembled devotees. Come, let us gather all the Vrindavan Vaishnavas together and hear their verdict. But Hridoy Chaitanya's devotees protested. They said that Jiva's word was sufficient. They merely wanted to hear the story from him. Jiva said, listen, I shall tell you everything. One day I asked Krishnadas, who has given you this name Shamananda? He has explained, by meditating on the lotus feet of his guru, the new name and tilak were awarded to him. This is due to the intensity of Krishnadas's devotion to his guru, Hridoy Chaitanya, which centers around the daily cleansing of Kanaka Kunj. While doing his service, Krishnadas always recites the Bhagavad Purana, performing his service in the Kunj with remarkable enthusiasm. Thus is Krishnadas. Whether day or night, he chants the holy name incessantly. One day, Jiva continued, Krishnadas had a dream which he revealed to me. In this dream, Hridoy Chaitanya appeared to him. While he was cleaning the Kunj, Krishnadas offered his respected guru a seat of comfortable kusha grass and began to offer prayers. Seeing Krishnadas' humility and sincerity, Hridoy Chaitanya became very happy and told Krishnadas that he had achieved something for which even Lord Brahma hankers, personal service to Radhika's Kunj. Soon, Hridoy Chaitanya assured him he would receive the mercy of Radha Krishna, and because he was bringing such pleasure to Sham, he would eventually be given the name Shamananda. After telling Krishnadas these things, said Sri Jiva, Hridoy Chaitanya blessed him and put his feet on his head. This gesture created a magnificent new tilak marking, and this same mark that is seen today, it should be known, though that everything has transpired by the mercy of Hridoy Chaitanya. This is the fact. But since many do not understand this point, the local people have invented their own renditions of what happened. In this way, Sri Jiva told the truth. Since Krishnadas did indeed see everything as the mercy of his guru, but he did not reveal the sworn secret of Lalita, Sundari, and Shamananda. Hridoy Chaitanya's disciples were relieved to hear Jiva Goswami's answer, and they asked Jiva to write the entire story in the form of a letter for their guru. This is exactly what he did, but he insisted that the devotees go to Krishnadas to hear the story directly from him. Jiva assured that Krishnadas would corroborate the entire episode with all of its details. So, when they brought the letter before Krishnadas, he said, I hold the lotus feet of Hridoy Chaitanya on my head. He is my Lord and Master. Although I serve in Raja under the tutelage of Sri Jiva, I see everything as the mercy of my beloved Guruji. So we're going to skip ahead a little bit so we can finish this. So they go back. Hridaya Chaitanya reads the letter, and his response, he thinks he's twisted the truth because I never gave Krishnadas that name. I didn't, I didn't put this tilak on his head. I never do these things. So immediately he was suspect. So he says, so he gathers, I'm going to Vrindavan myself and get to the bottom of this. And so he gathers a bunch of pandits and he goes to Raj. When Hridaya Chaitanya, a large group arrived in Vrindavan, they were shown elaborate hospitality. Sri Jiva Goswami offered all respect to the devotees as they did to him. And he began praising them with the choicest poetry. Soon Shyamananda arrived as well, and upon seeing his guru, Hridaya Chaitanya, he fell flat like a stick, offering full obeisances. Hridaya Chaitanya immediately challenged Shyamananda. To whom is Dukhi Krishna bowing? He said in a sarcastic mood. Prabhu, Shyamananda said in surprise, I am bowing to your feet, as well as to the feet of all these saintly personalities. Hridaya Chaitanya did not accept this response. Your relationship with me is understood by your name and tilak, not by superficially displaying of humility. Shyamananda assured him that the name and tilak were seen by his grace and nothing more. Otherwise, he would not accept them. But Hridaya Chaitanya was adamant. Listen to me, he said. Dreams cannot be accepted as fact. You have acted without my approval, and in conjunction with Jiva Goswami, you have sent me a misleading letter about the bogus dream. That is inexcusable. I'm not going to get through all this. So there was a meeting. They brought a bunch of people together. I think initially he washed the tilak off. And then they brought the whole assembly together, and they challenged him, be honest in front of the group of Vaishnavas. Assembly devotees, come clean, be honest. And Shyamananda, at that point, give us your response and be truthful. So he went into meditation. He started meditating. He paused for a moment and went into meditation. In his perfect body, he started to recite the mantra given to him by Lalita and found himself in the spiritual dimension outside Radha's home. We're not going to get through all this. He goes to Radhika. He goes crying to where Radhika is, and he's crying outside. And some gopi, she sees him and says, who are you? What's going on? What's happening? Why are you crying? And he said, he gives a brief explanation, and he wants to see Lalita. So Lalita comes out, and he, of course, recognizes him. And she brings him into Radhika, and then she gets the blessings of Radhika. She calls Subal, because Subal is Hridaya Chaitanya's actually guru, Gauradas. And so he said, he will take care of this problem. He will deal with it. And then so she gets, the markings are written on his chest, and the tilak is put back on his head, and he comes back out of meditation. And then they see what happened. And so they all try to wash it off, and at this time it doesn't come off. So they figure, okay, there's got to be some truth to what he's saying. So Hridaya Chaitanya then said, okay, I need to think about this for a minute. I just can't immediately give a response. So then actually he does have a dream. And so his guru comes to him in this dream, and it tells him the whole story of his disciple who gets the mercy of Radha, and why he got his name, and because of his dedication to his spiritual master, because he's so dedicated that he received the mercy of Krishna. And so then he came out of the dream and realized that Shyamananda was being honest about it. Wasn't Jiva Goswami who did this. And he went to him and embraced him and felt like, I feel like I'm your disciple, So tried to get as much of this pastime out as well. And then after this, he becomes one of the three main devotees, that goes around and travels like Srinivas and Narottam and continues to keep hope alive for all of us today. Okay, thank you very much. I apologize if I wasn't clear? Thank you. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga.
Govindam Adipur